Captain Keith Murry, Overland Park Fire Department, 35 years. My dad became a volunteer firefighter with Spring Hill, became a fire chief quickly after that. The fire department, other than the fire chief, was all volunteer. So the men would want to come to the fire station and run calls, but the wives would say, well, you can go to the fire station, but you got to take the kids with you. My dad, again, forward thinking, he said, well, you know, if the kids are here, we got to create future firefighters, so let's make a junior fire department. So when you became 12 years old, you could become a junior firefighter, and we would go to the fire station, and at 12 I did. Although I started going on calls when I was about 7 or 8, and I can remember, saw probably too many things that I shouldn't have seen, but saw a lot before I was 12 years old. We'd go to the station in the mornings and on the summertime, just when we didn't have school, and we'd do air pack training and roll hose and clean the fire trucks and do all the stuff firemen do. And I, kind of an old school guy here, I say fireman. I don't mean to exclude anyone from the group. Fireman means a person who works in the fire, it's just a term. So I mean firefighters. I got a lot of experience, a lot of exposure young in my life. And we had, north of Spring Hill, there was the highway that had, we had 17 fatality car wrecks in 1 year, and that was a typical year down there. So we were exposed to a lot of really traumatic calls. I have to give credit to my mom too, because she was the one, she had the ability to get a teenage boy out of bed in the middle of the night to go on a call. And teenage boys don't like to get out of bed. But my mom had the gift that she could actually not only wake us up, but she could actually get us out of the house and on the way to the call. And we had the program where, they're shorthanded during the day. If you're in high school and was a junior firefighter, and there was a big grass fire or something, they would call the school, and the school would let us out, and we could actually go to the fires from school. Anyway, I was blessed as a kid to grow up in the fire service. From the time I was 7 years old, just about every day I would spend at the firehouse. So I've been immersed in the fire service for my whole life. Got out of high school, thought for a brief time I wanted to be an auto mechanic. Went to school, started going to school, and came home with my knuckles bleeding and greasy fingernails and hands. It's like, man, do I really want to do this my whole life? So there was a really wise old guy at the firehouse down there. His name was Homer Otterburn, and he was an elevator mechanic for Otis Elevator Company. And I went down there one day, I was all bummed out, and I said, no, I got to do something. I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to be an auto mechanic, but I don't know what he knew the answer to this, but I was too stupid and young to know. He said, so what would you do for free that you do every day? He goes, figure out what you want to do. And he goes, if you do that, you'll never have to work a day in your life, the old adage. I was like, well, I don't know, what would that be? He goes, yeah, you do. He goes, you know what it is. And finally, after about 15 minutes of browbeating me, he goes, I finally was like, I could be a fireman. It's like, genius, why did I think of that? So from that day forth, my career path started that I was going to be a fireman. I went to all the fire departments in Johnson County, and I'm going to date myself here, but I went to the Army ammo plant over in DeSoto and applied over there, and they were still open for a couple of years while I was trying to get a job. Everyone took my application, but no one would hire me because I wasn't an EMT. And they said, and I can remember several fire chiefs set me down. They'd make it all the way to the chief's interview, and they say, are you an EMT? No, I have no aspirations to be one. Well, then that's going to be a problem because you need to be an EMT. So after being turned down on about 5 different jobs, I thought, okay, I'm going to have to do this. So I went to JUCO on the way home, applied for the EMT class, and I got in. The executive board of the Spring Hill Fire Department wanted to hire me, and my dad says no. He goes, no, nepotism thing. He goes, I don't want that. It just looks bad. And they overrode him, and the executive board hired me to be a Spring Hill firefighter. So that was my first paid job. I worked 5 days a week and was on call every other weekend, and including every night. So really I worked 24 hours a day for 7 days in a row, and I had 2 days off. And even on the off days, I'd still go to calls because that's what you did. I worked there for 2.5 years, and then one day I applied for Overland Park Fire Department, and you get a phone call or the fire station phone rings, and they answer the phone, and they said, you got a second? Answer the phone. Hey, it's Brookard. Oh, hi, Chief Brookard, how are you? He goes, you want a job? I said, yes, I do. He goes, all right. He goes, start March 1st. He goes, don't come in until the 2nd, though. You're on A shift. And he goes, so you'll start March 1st, but don't come in until the 2nd. All right, cool, thanks. So I'm kind of stunned there, and everybody's looking at me like, what was that? I go, I just got hired by the Overland Park Fire Department. My dad's like, you just find out about that? I've known about that for 2 weeks. That started my career here at Overland Park in 1985, March 1st. I was hired with a class of 13. There's only 3 of us left, Tom Brandt, Dave Young, and I. And I think Dave Young's going to win the sprint. Man, everything about it was appealing to me. I mean, I grew up in it. It's just what it was. I mean, it was the fiber of me. I mean, everything about it. I loved going on the calls. I loved the fire trucks. Everything about it. I mean, the camaraderie of the group, the helping the people, the public servant. And I learned that from my mom and dad. They were givers. You know, they were involved in everything. My mom worked at the elementary school and helped kids out. And I can remember people stopping by our house and saying, hey, we're in a bad time, and they'd sleep on our couch for days at a time, and because they're separated from their spouse momentarily or long term, and they give them money. They were 100% givers. So I had to. Overland Park Fire Department was where it was at. I mean, they had 3 stations. They're the only department in the county that had more than 2 stations. They're progressive. They're opening up new stations. They had big fires in Overland Park. They ran a lot of calls, which 2,000 calls a year was a lot of calls back then when I started. And I just wanted to be there. I mean, it just appealed to me. I knew Chief Gibbs was here. He grew up in the Overland Park Fire Department volunteering. He was also, my dad hired him as an EMT down there at Spring Hill, and Mark Whalen, and there's a long list of people that worked in the Spring Hill Fire Department that came up here. And it's kind of a natural progression. You get your training and get really good at your craft at Spring Hill by running all the fires and all the car wrecks and all the grass fires. And then you go market yourself. You are completely marketable, and you got a better paying job. And, Spring Hill's a small town. It's only 2,500 people, and they didn't have a lot of cash flow down there. So, I started out at $12,000 a year at Spring Hill. I started up here at $21,000. So it was like winning the lottery. But it was a bit intimidating. I came from a little bitty Podunk Spring Hill Fire Department, thought I knew everything, but I get up here and I worked with, Al Dedrick was my jump seat guy. He was my mentor at Station 1. I started off, Daryl Cordell was my captain at Station 1 on A shift. And by the way, I've been on A shift for 35 years. Haven't been off of it yet, so I think I'm gonna make it. They hired all 13 of us because they're going to open up another station, which I believe was Station 3 at the time, the Westgate station. So we had extra people on the station each station till that place opened. I rode on the step. They were American LaFrance fire trucks, had an open canopy, jump seats, and the jump seat was full, and I rode on the step to get up on the doghouse to get to the booster reel. I didn't even have a seat belt. There were no man savers. I mean, riding down the road at 72 miles an hour going north on Antioch to 54 Terrace in Antioch to an apartment fire, and the road's just zipping by. It's like, this is a bit dangerous. But it was really intimidating to be around these guys because these guys they were real firemen. I mean, they knew what they were doing. They had big fires. I mean, we didn't have anything the size of Overland Park had down there at Spring Hill. The first night, we didn't shut the radios off. You listened to the radio because we didn't have pagers. We had circuit phones. They'd ring a house phone from dispatch, and that was the way we found out we had a fire. But you monitored all 21 departments or 22 departments on the radio all the time. Now granted, it wasn't that busy, but Spring Hill would have a call. I'd jump up, throw my stuff on, get on the truck. It's like, oh, then I got to figure out how to get back in the bunker room without him finding out I went on a call or tried to go on a call without him. Our first fire, and I mean, Al had drilled over and over and over how you pull the line, how you grab it, how many steps you take out. I mean, this guy, he was a machine. I mean, this guy was a solid fireman. And so I'm like, oh my God, this is big time. I've really got to step up my game here. I thought I knew what I was doing. I don't know nothing. These guys they've got it together. So our first fire comes in. It's a little house fire over off of 77th and Lamar. And we pull up. I'm in the lead truck. I'm on the right side jump seat. I'm like, I look out the window. It's like, oh, yep, there it is. You can see it venting out the back window. I'm like, oh, this is good. This is good. So I go back and I grab the hose exactly like Al tells me, and I drag it off the same number of paces that he tells me. I bring the line up to the front door, we're putting our mask on. I'm like, Al, we're ready for water. He's like, he looks over at John Gilmore was driving the lead truck. He goes, John, water. And John's looking down the side of the house and we're like, what's he looking at? Al kind of he goes, don't go anywhere. So I mean, you can just see the fire in the back of the house. It's like, this is gonna be the textbook, run in and hit that thing, it's gonna be out. Well, the fire chief grabbed a booster off the truck, went down and stuck it in the window and put the fire out. So I'm like, he did my job. It was quite a learning experience. The first few fires we had, it's like, okay, I got this figured out. It's not quite as intimidating as it was. Structured, everybody knew what they were doing, but there was a little bit of leniency. You didn't have to take the right number. If you took the wrong number of steps, you're still gonna be okay. My first impression at Station 2, first time I walked in, I opened the bay doors over there, and the mirror shine on the floor was just unbelievable. It was like hospital shine. I mean, it was really cool. And I mean, the guys took pride in that. I mean, we made sure, you back the truck in, there was sand on the floor, and the tires, they'd mop the sand or the floor tracks off, the tire tracks off, and make the floor look better. You're gonna laugh. Every time we'd have a fire in the rain, we'd come back and wash the truck, shimmy it off every time. So it was a lot of busy work, but man, we learned a lot. We knew those trucks really well. There was no Station 4, there was no Station 5. The next closest fire station south of here was Stanley Firehouse, where Overland 5 was. City of Overland Park went to 143rd. So we ran calls out of this station. We were first due to 143rd and Metcalf, 143rd and Schweitzer, all those, I mean, that was it, we were it. And Miller's Woods was the softball complex down there behind Station 3, the current Station 3. And we were on the ambulance out of this station, and we'd run 15, 16 calls every day. I mean, we just get it handed to us. And sometimes they'd be having a tournament down there at Miller's Woods. We run 8 or 10 calls at that location of injured people. When I started, Chief Brookard was our fire chief. He retired in, I think, '87, and then Bill Janke became our fire chief, and things got dramatically different then. He was an entrepreneurial, forward-thinking guy, and he shot us. We leaped into the new millennium or the new era of fire service with thermal imaging cameras, computers, computer-aided dispatch, hazmat truck. I mean, we got the best of the best, and this guy, Chief Janke, he was so forward-thinking, it was hard to keep up. I mean, the department just accelerated, and there was, because it was such a different time, education was the key, and if you didn't have your education at least going, you were left behind, and I think that's why some of the older guys, they didn't feel like they fit in, and they retired because of that, I think. Our hazmat truck had dispatch capabilities for the county. We had state-of-the-art stuff. No one ever heard of it, and we had it in our fire truck. We had one of the first MDTs around, the mobile data terminals. Never did work, never worked a day, but it was in there every day, and every day we get on and try to figure it out and have this little bitty screen. Never got it to work, but we had them, and they were on the cutting edge of that, trying to get it figured out. So. In my opinion, there's two different types of firefighters. There's the firefighters, and there's people that work at the fire station. And the firefighters are the ones that want to go on the calls. They want to be first out the door. They want to be first in. They want to see the action. They want to be in the middle of it. And then there's people at the fire station that work at the fire station that complain about getting on the fire truck when they have a call. They are the last ones out the door. I have zero tolerance for that. If you work here, you should want to be a firefighter, and the majority of us do. Because that's such a prominent, the want to is such a prominent feature in Overland Park Fire Department, to me it's motivating for everyone. That's what makes this place so appealing, is because we have the calls, we have the fires, we have the action. We run more than twice the number of calls as the next closest city. We see twice the fires, we see twice the tragedy, we see twice the exposure to illnesses and other things like that. So there's good and bad with that, but for a career, if you're sitting in the firehouse watching TV, you're not becoming a better person. When you're out running calls every day, all day long, you are a master of your craft. I mean, you know what to do. When you pull up on a house fire and there's fire blowing out a window, you know what to do. No words need to be mentioned. I've been to the California Fire Instructors Workshop conference. I've been to FDIC a couple times, all over the United States to different stuff. Rode out in fire stations in other countries. I've had a pretty good exposure, and I'm telling you what, Overland Park floats to the top every time. I mean, I would put Overland Park against everyone else as far as knowledge and ability and capabilities as anyone. Second to none, second to none. I believe that our top firefighters, our senior firefighters, could go anywhere, at least in Johnson County, if not further, and be at least a battalion chief and never flounder once, because we are trained at such a higher level than everyone else. But not only the training, but the exposure to the calls that we get really makes us solid people. I have a list of all the people I've worked with. It's a long list. I've worked with some really good people. All I do is I've taken what other people have given to me, my dad, my mom, all the unbelievable officers I've worked with in the fire service here, and I try to glean all the good things out of them, and I try to push it on to the next person. And it just comes down to like your job. Enjoy being good at your job. Try to go forward all the time, because it goes so fast. If you stop for 2 days, you're behind. I mean, it's such a fast-moving system here. I'm gonna miss the guys and the girls. And you know, and I'll still get to see them, because we do a lot of stuff off duty. I've always been the social butterfly. I'm trying to get everybody off duty to do things. We're gonna do a bike ride right after the retirement, and we go fishing and hunting and stuff. We do a lot of things off duty together. So there's a core group that I'll stick with. Some of the periphery I'll get to see occasionally. I'll stop by the firehouses, but I'll really miss the people. I'm sure I'll miss riding on the fire truck and going to the calls and stuff like that, but right now, I've had enough of that. I still can't wait to go on my next call, but if it stops, that's okay. It's okay. So 35 years here, and now I'm ready to try something different. Not in employment-wise, but something different. I got to finish up a house. We're in the middle of building a house. Going to finish that up. Got a trip to France, going to Bordeaux to teach those French kids on how to speak English, and teach them a little bit about the American fire service culture. And then I'm going to head to Colorado, do some camping. Our goal was to hike the Colorado Trail, which is about 495 miles, give or take a few. Climb some 14,000-foot mountains. Spend many, many nights in my tent or a hammock. And then next year, Debbie and I'll do kind of what we're described as the epic road trip. We're going to get in the Jeep, and we're going to head to the Pacific Northwest and up along Canada, and head down the West Coast to California and back through the middle of the country, and maybe spend about 4 months cruising and camping in the Jeep. No hotels other than occasionally. Yeah, we're just going to kind of live life. Spend some time with the grandkids and the daughters and son-in-laws and family, and not work. I don't think I have officially anything in my file. I mean, I lived a really happy career. I'm happy with it. We're screaming down the road, going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit with due diligence, and going to a call, and everybody else is going to their 9-to-5 job. Not that that's bad, but I'm thinking, man, that'd be kind of cool to be in that fire truck. We're that guy, we're there. Almost every day I said, man, how lucky are we? How lucky are we? I'm walking away from it. I wasn't at that fire, and they're like, yeah, you are. There you are in that picture. It's like, I don't remember that. I've lost my mind. I don't want it to be emotional. It's to be a happy time. I'll turn the page. I'm trying to convince myself of that right now. We'll see how that goes.